Hey guys, how's it going? Today, in this video, we're going to be checking out Coex3D's glow-in-the-dark green 3D printer filament. This stuff not only looks super cool, but what's also super cool about it is it's made right here in the USA in Wisconsin. And because of that made in the USA quality, it has a 0.03 millimeter tolerance, which means that your prints will be coming out clean and predictable every single time. These filaments are also made out of 100% virgin resin, and they also have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you're not happy with your filament for any reason, you can send it back and they will either replace it or give you a refund. But with that being said, let's check out Coex3D's glow-in-the-dark green filament. Alright guys, the first thing I am going to do is take you to the website that I bought this filament from. And of course, I bought it from directly Coex3D.com. This is the only way you can get this filament. And yes, they don't have the Amazon 2-day shipping, but it is well worth the wait. And actually, I live in Illinois, and this got to me in 1 day from it being shipped. So it only took a day for it to get here, and I only had to pay a couple bucks for shipping. So nevertheless, like I said, it does have a 0.3 millimeter tolerance. It's made of 100% virgin resin, made in the USA, and is engineering grade. It's 100% satisfaction guarantee, like we went over in the intro. So now let's get over to the filament that we are reviewing today. They do have a ton of different colors to choose from, and all of them are really good prices, coming in at $22 a roll. Right now they're doing a Black Friday where it's just $16.80 a roll. And that's about as cheap as any of those cheap rolls you can get on Amazon. But in this case, you're going to be getting an actual quality roll of filament instead of some cheap, made in some huge factory in China filament that you're getting cheap off Amazon. So as we scroll down, we'll come and we'll find the glow-in-the-dark green right here, which is the filament that we are going to be reviewing today. And right now it's on sale for $16.80 because it is the Black Friday sale going on. But you can use my code Austin's Lab to receive 10% off of your orders with Coex3D if you're interested in ordering any filament with these guys and supporting them and supporting me. But now let's go ahead, unbox, print, and take a look at this filament. Alright, so here is what the filament looks like when it first arrived to my door. It was in another box, so it's in this box inside of another box. And then of course it is vacuum sealed, and just like the description said online, it does have that silicone packet within this thick vacuum sealed plastic. So it does have some things to read in there, which is just the guarantees that Coex3D Filaments offers with their purchases, and then also a QR code and a quick reference guide to temperatures and speeds and how to use this filaments and all of their filaments. Alright, now we can go ahead and open this thing up. So, upon first impressions, this filament does look like glow-in-the-dark color. So what I mean by that is glow-in-the-dark things tend to have a typical green hue to them, but almost be a transparent white, and this filament is exactly the color you'd expect from a glow-in-the-dark green filament. But let's set this thing up on my printer and get it started. I'm going to be using an Ender 3 V3 SE printer, and I'm going to be running through these settings here right now in a second. Alright, for those of you who care, these are the settings I am going to be using for my Benchy. These are the standard settings I use for most of my PLA prints. This Hyper PLA default right here. So these are going to be the settings that I am going with. We can scroll through them real fast for those of you who care. Again, I'm using an Ender 3 V3 SE printer. I'm going to be doing it at 180 millimeters a second, sparse infill, and internal solid infill. I'm going to be doing no supports because it's a Benchy, obviously, and then all the rest are just defaults. So those are the settings I'm going to use to make my G-code. And then I'm going to go ahead and now export this G-code, send it off to my printer, print some stuff off, and then let's look at it and see how well it prints. Alright, let's select the right G-code and send this print off and cue the time lapse. Alright, this thing is finishing up. Now let's take it off the print bed and inspect this thing a little bit closer. So as we look at this first print, the Benchy boat, you can see the layers are really clean and even, no weird bumps or dips. It's super consistent all the way up. It also has a really cool glow once you see the side-by-side comparisons, which we'll look at here in a second. But for now, as we look at the details all around the cabin window and the roof, it looks really sharp. You can usually tell right away when the filament is inconsistent at these areas, but it looks great. You can also look at the text on the bottom, although it's really hard to see in this photo. It is really easy to read in person, which means the extrusion stayed steady the whole print. There is also no stringing when you look at these prints over the bridges or the gaps. There's no stringing, and it came out basically spotless. The surface also has a nice consistent texture. You can barely even tell that there are layer lines or tell at all basically that it's 3D printed. I don't know if it's just this transparent type of filament, but it also is super sturdy. This Benchy boat feels for some reason much more dense and stronger than any of the other Benchy boats that I have printed in the past. So now let's get into the glowing expectations of this filament. So if you put this filament under some light for any amount of time, it glows with no problem, as you can see in these side-by-side comparisons of these prints that I printed out of this filament. So I've never done a glow-in-the-dark filament like this before, but I have glow-in-the-dark items in my house for my kid, and these glow the same, if not better, than any of those glow-in-the-dark items that he has. So whatever formula they are using to make these things glow in the dark, it is definitely working. So if this Benchy looks this good, let's check out some other prints and see just how well they look in this glow-in-the-dark green filament by Coex3D. Alright, so here are some prints that I printed off to showcase this filament a little bit more. First, I'm going to start off with this T-Rex skull puppet thing, and this I just printed off to showcase how good this filament looks with the lights on and off. And as far as the stringing of the filament, you can see across the teeth of this print, there's barely any stringing at all where you'd expect a ton. Moving on, we're going to be checking out this cool articulated dragon that I printed out just to show you how precise this filament is. It has no problem printing these precise articulated toys or anything else you need to be super precise. precise, and it also does a good job in showing again how good this filament looks like with the lights on and off. The next thing we're going to look at is this very functional light switch. So this is a light switch that I actually needed for my kid's room that didn't have a light switch on it for I don't know how many months when we were redoing his room and miscounted his light switches. So I printed off this one and thought I would just throw this on, and the wife was happy with it, so it is staying up. But now when the kid turns off his lights at night, he can easily find his closet light if he wants to turn that on because it is glowing in the dark for him. So, to sum it up, guys, what are my thoughts on this filament? Well, I think it is an awesome filament, not only for beginners, but for advanced users of 3D printers as well, because it is very easy to print with, reliable, and also has an awesome color and glowing effect, which you can use for practical things like light switch covers and knobs to dressers so that kids can see them into dark, or cool things, novelty things like toys, statues, or other things that you can come up with. This filament could be perfect for that and much, much more. This filament is also very accurate, prints without strings, and is very, very tough. Like I said earlier, it's probably one of the toughest benchy bows that I have ever printed. I also love that this filament, again, is made in the USA and is 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you have any problems with this filament whatsoever, you can return it and get your money back or a different spool. But I don't think you guys should have any problems with that because, as you can see, this filament printed out perfectly with absolutely no editing to any settings on my slicer. I just printed out as I normally would any old PLA, and it printed out perfectly. So with that being said, I would 100% recommend this filament. And again, guys, if you were looking for a 10% off your order, because the filaments won't always be that price that we went over in the beginning, use code Austin's Lab for 10% off your order on Coex3D.com. But with all that being said, guys, that is it for this video. Again, if you're looking for some cool 3D filament, check Coex3D out. But again, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and hope to catch you in the next one.